and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A public notice is hereby given that the Board of Aldermen of the City of Pevely, Missouri will conduct a workshop at 6 p.m. on September the 8th, Pevely City Hall. Agenda as follows. Water sewer rates. You want that, Dave?
Well, what do you want me to say? I got a lot to say. Somebody else can start out if they want. Now,
well, you're the one who asked for this to be on the agenda.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I didn't really ask for it to be on the agenda. I said we needed to find out and discuss, but if I'm not mistaken, it was implemented in the past to have an increase every year. I'm not sure the percentage or nothing. I had kind of troubles getting that far with other situations. But my understanding is it's coming up on time to increase to the formula or whatever was placed for 10 years for yearly increases. And at this point, I don't see no reason to increase. And the reason I say I don't see no reason to increase is because we've been under this increase was doubled 20 months ago. Okay? When we started this 20 months ago, that was in December, we had 12 months, well, let's say we had 10 months to get it so we could put it into the 2014 budget. Nobody had no concerns of putting that into the 2014 budget to work on towers, do any kind of infrastructure, to replace a line. There was no discussion, so, I mean, we survived this far. I say, well, personally, I won't go for an increase at this time. I don't know how everybody else feels. I'd like to hear some comments from other people that, you know, I mean, I would like to see the towers and stuff addressed in 2015 budget, but I'm still not satisfied with the numbers in water and sewer for a 20-month time period, okay, of an increase. I mean, we have nothing to show. Nothing to show. Nothing new, nothing. I mean, we buy valves and stuff. That's you know, typical. But we have nothing to show. Now we're putting out extra money to a contractor to put a Main Street water line in here that I was under the understanding that our city workers were going to install that. And if I could find the minutes, I would be happy to share them with you, but I don't have access to that right now.
Okay. Well, I guess Greg would know more about the numbers than I would know, but the water line, like on Elm, is 60 years old, so sooner or later, all them lines have to be replaced. The ones up in front of my house are even older than the ones down at this end of the town. So it's we have to have money in the accounts before we can keep on working on the infrastructure of the city.
Yeah.
Wait just 1 minute, please.
And by doubling this bill?
Well,
so we doubled this bill and they implemented a 10-year program of 2 or 4% every year to increase. Okay? The problem I have, here's the big problem I have. We don't, you know, what should we really have in water and sewer, Mayor? What should we have? We don't even have the numbers from 2012 and 13. We don't have them numbers.
I think you're wrong.
I think you have. I gave you 13's numbers when you came
Okay,
in.
But you don't have.
And,
you don't have 12.
and 12 was out there. because it was I gave you a trial for the sewer for 12, 13, and where we were so far through 14. To answer one of your questions, where you need to have, what I do when I work the cities, you need to have about 6 months worth of operating expenses in your proprietary funds. Your infrastructure is huge. But I've also talked to several councilmen about a capital plan. About we have to come up, Mrs. Kinnon recently, when she was in my office, when I was here, was trying to come up with a capital plan. I realize you haven't had that, or if you have had it, I haven't seen it. But I've talked to Mr. Brown about it, that is something for this coming budget year we need to come up with. Yes, we are starting to build up those cash reserves in those accounts. But right now, it looks really good in water and sewer, but as soon as we make that debt service payment, and it is a quick payout on that, but we also need to spread our expense, do a 5-year look at, not just, we're going to do the rate increase, we need to look at it, okay, this is what we think our operational costs are going to go up inflation-wise, this is what we think we're going to have to spend in capital, you're going to have to spend some engineering fees, are to come up with that estimate, if you haven't already, to come up with what it's going to cost. I was talking to Mr. Brown today about I&I, about if there's any infiltration. He said that in one location when the really heavy rain, stormwater got to the sewer, so we know we have some issues some places. We talked about a vacuum truck or a camera or to come up with a plan, but I think we have to come up with a capital plan. You're right, Mr. B. We have to have a capital plan to see where we want to go down the road, and we have to do that both with water and wastewater. There's one piece of the puzzle I can't solve right now is we have an account called the replacement. I'm not sure. I don't know how to split that up. When I split the funds up come October 1, when I get everything pulled out with the new software. I don't know how to split that amount of money up between water and sewer, but you have some, we have operating reserves we need to keep on hand, plus we have the capital side. But the capital side, until we get that capital budget, I agree, we don't know where we stand. But I think there's been enough discussion about it, and I know that, and that's one of the first things Mr. Brown asked me when he came is, are we putting money back for equipment replacement? Looking at, and when you're doing capital, you're looking at everything that's big. Police car, you're doing it both in the general fund, the water, the wastewater, also your transportation projects. So, but I think we need to, before we say we're not going to raise rates, I think we need to look at it and see, do a projection to see where we're going. But again, the capital side is going to be a big piece of it.
Okay. You got another comment?
Well, my comment would be is why start now? Why didn't we start 24 months ago?
Well, you got to start sometime.
Yeah, well, not on my shift. Sorry.
Did you have something else that you
No,
wanted to
sir.
say, Don?
Well, I was going to say, it was supposed to be a 10-year plan, it would increase 3% per year, according to the study when they had it done, increase water and sewer rates. We didn't do it last year because of the number of unhappy citizens over that.
Okay.
Maybe we were wrong. But you're right, Ed, it has, you've got to keep up with inflation and everything else.
Okay. Go ahead.
For
We're not gonna get into
Well, it's a workshop, Ed. Isn't that what we have it for? It's a workshop.
Okay,
Okay, what are we not gonna get into? I haven't even spoke yet.
go ahead.
Okay. Wow. What? Okay. For 10 years, those water towers, according to your own man and the water department, said since 2003, those have to be maintained or fixed or whatever. Okay? That hasn't been done for 10 years. Now, there's many different elements to this issue with water and sewer that I've taken a special interest in. Okay? Because the information gets cherry-picked from an auditor that comes in or a accountant that comes in and says, well, you don't have any money in there, you got to raise rates. And my question has always been is why not? Let's get to the bottom of why we don't have enough. And where exactly is it going? Because in the city of Pevely here, in this alternative universe we live in, okay, in the water and sewer department is a giant ATM machine. Unfortunately, where a third of the city administrator's salary gets paid, a third of the city clerk's salary gets paid. At one time, I don't name a name, but I guess we want to say the secretary, okay, a third of their salary. How are you ever going to fix anything? You got, what you're saying is you got pipes that are 60 years old, or infrastructure has to be maintained, but yet all this money is going out in salaries. You're never going to get enough to where you need to fix it. Now, if you take a look at a pay bill, any recent pay bill, going back how many ever years you want to go back, and you got attorney's fees. I think there was one pay bill, attorney's fees, $40,000. $40,000.
That's correct. That's because.
Is that going to be because of C1?
Yes.
Okay, now, how do we know that? If that's for C1, because to my knowledge, we've never had an itemized, okay, bill from Lashley and Barrett, or I definitely know there was an itemized from David Corum. Now, if all these things have to be done, and it's so important, okay, explain to me why $100,000, and I have yet to see a city administrator, a city clerk, a secretary, any administrator in this building show me that $100,000 came out of each one of those departments in early 2013 and was paid back. Now, how long has that been going on? Now, to my understanding, the towers cost between $30,000, $50,000 to redo or fix or maintain or whatever. I mean, those two departments alone, $100,000. So we need an increase, but at the same time, it's okay to pay attorneys, it's okay to pay administrators, it's okay to pay whatever the city decides that it needs at that time to pay out. You can't have it both ways. And now there's this thing where if you don't pay it in 30 days, it's going to get shut off, and because we need the money, well, what do? Then stop taking our money. And I'm not blaming you for it, but stop taking it and using it for everything under the sun, and then when you run out, the answer is, well, fee increase. The answer is, oh, we need money, utility tax increase. Stop taking it out of there. Get to the bottom of exactly where it is it's going, and you'll have the money in there.
Well, for 20 years, the city never raised their rates, period.
Okay.
So,
We made it one time.
Okay.
that's right. So they had to double their dollar to stay afloat.
Okay. I'm gonna.
That's
Okay.
not
But
correct.
stop.
They did raise them.
Stop. That's correct. Well, let me get back to, okay, what you're saying is the city didn't raise it, and that's why we had to double it. Is that what you're telling me? Okay. But yet, that money was still immediately taken out of there. Within 90 days of doubling this city's water and sewer was taken out of there. So, it obviously wouldn't need it that bad. And I go over this issue, and over this issue, and over this issue. As a matter of fact, I made it an issue to explain to the people that were here prior to you getting here that I was going to make, if I wasn't going to get answers, I was going to turn it into a political issue. And the political issue being that if I can't find out from the people that are up here, then I'm going to go out and find out people that will help me find it out. You can't, the city can't have it both ways. You can't take the money, not do what's supposed to be done. I mean, now, granted, you've been here for 3-4 months, okay, but there's been plenty of pay bills that's went by. There's been plenty of time that's went by. There's been literally, I mean, you're talking about 1,100 households at an average of $70 to $80 that's coming out of there. And when these accountants get here, they turn around and say, they can only show us where we're at, and then they go, wow, you don't have any money, you got to raise rates. And I'm saying, whoa, we need to find out where exactly you're going, because you're getting our money, but it's just being sprayed all over the place. Can you tell me why did water and sewer money make up a shortfall in the general fund?
It has been paid back, sir. It was paid back.
Okay, show me where.
The way it works is, right now,
Show me where.
you're not gonna see one check written.
Okay.
I'll tell you why.
Okay,
All the money and all the tax, all the payments that go out, it goes in through the general fund checking account. All the money comes in and for all the funds, it gets paid. And we track it through a due to, due from account, okay? Where we track it where, does this fund owe this, does the general fund owe this fund, or does this fund owe the general fund? It all depends on if we've collected more receipts that month versus what we paid out for that fund that month, okay? That wasn't me, and when I got here, and I started working, trying to close out December, I came up with a number, we did a transfer. You're not gonna see it on a P bill as a check.
well, okay, then just stop. Okay, just stop. Stop explaining it, because Therein lies the issue of what we're talking about. What you're talking about is equivalent of how hard is that to do? To say, look, we borrowed this money from this department, we moved it from here to there. It's real simple. If I'm not going to see it, then I'm supposed to, it's like baloney. I got to take it on trust.
You can come in, I can show you, sir. I'm not gonna argue.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm asking you what you're telling.
Well, we're debating, so that's not what this is about.
No, okay, well, show, I don't want to say, well, it's.
Okay,
it's back-
well, now wait a minute. Greg just told you to come in and he'll show you.
Good.
So-
I'll have a look at it. I sure will.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Sir, I'll be here back on Wednesday.
Go ahead,
I'll
Will.
be here.
Okay, all I would like to know is this water. They seem to be going a lot more than I do. What do we have in the water bill right now? In water and sewer? How much money we have there? That's all.
Well, it's been stated that the last 2 months.
I can go get the financial statement.
Okay.
That's what we need to know, because one time
Well-
we said 2 million.
A little over $1 million each.
Right.
I recall a little
2
over $1
million
million
one
each.
each time, and then one time I heard we have 80,000. So what do we have?
Okay.
That's a great question.
He had his hand up before, so go ahead.
You know, I know, Ed, that before we separate the funds in different accounts, all the water and sewer money was put into a general fund. It's really hard to keep track of things when you're living off those who made shortfalls, and they were making shortfalls out of those, making up the money in the general fund out of water and sewer. So that's one reason. I'm not saying it was raised, but it makes a difference when you don't know where the money's going.
Right. Go ahead, Diane.
When you doubled our rates, I haven't seen any changes at all. I still have,
Of what? What kind of changes?
I still have sewer in my basement. And that's all I gotta say. Lots of it.
That's the condemned water.
Yes, Mr. Moore.
Whenever I was on the board, and short-lived, but we had an analyst come in and advised us that these rates should be doubled, and this money should be spent for upgrading and things like that. I've seen no upgrading since this is, where is the money? And I think it's
What year was that?
2 years ago.
12.
Okay, well,
It just
I collected the money, I want to see where my money is going, that's.
well, your money is going to be put into the Main Street project. It's going to be put, going up Elm Street,
Why is it being put in the Main Street project?
because we're putting a new water line in. That's why. We're putting a new water line going up to, Elm Street on, Elm and Walnut. Whatever's at the top of the hill up there by Steve's 5th Street.
When's this gonna take place?
Well, we're gonna start this year, within the next couple weeks.
Main Street project?
Sure.
What's the cost of this, water lines going in?
Couldn't tell you right off the bat. I'll tell you tomorrow night.
The money for those lines is coming out of water and sewer, is that what I heard you say?
I've got to make sure I got my directions correct here.
Okay?
The project that you were just talking about, is that the addition to the primary project, or is that part of the primary project?
Well, the part going up Elm Street is coming out of the water department. I know that for a fact. The part on Main Street, I couldn't tell you exactly for sure where that money's coming from.
Well, the Main Street project, most of those funds, a lot of the funds will come out of the T-tax bill. Now, the other piece of that, which is kind of an add-on piece, preliminary estimates right now from Cochran, the same company doing the primary work, they do a unit price. And right now, we're looking at some pretty high numbers. We're looking at $122,000 just for the water lines and the valves and hydrants And that doesn't include resurfacing the roadways, and we don't know what that would be. And I haven't had a chance to talk to the mayor. We just met with Cochran late last week about some other recommendations they have pertaining to the extra work that was going to be done. And they have some recommendations of maybe doing it a little different, but that's up to the council to make that decision. And after I have a chance to talk to them, I'll brief the community on that.
As a citizen, I would like to make a request, since majority of people that are up there tonight were not here when Cochran came and gave their presentation in regards to Main Street, in regards to when Mr. Thomas, previously city administrator, made the suggestion that we take and do the extra streets. Correct, there's actually, there's 4 or 5 streets that would be in addition because the equipment was here. I would ask that you go back and research those figures that were given from Cochran Engineering and the minutes from the meetings in regards to that, because I believe, it's my understanding that that money for those extra streets and everything, that was supposed to come out of that transportation tax, that $20,000 that we get every month. That's what we were told. Am I wrong here?
No, that's true.
Okay, if I'm not mistaken, I would ask you to research those minutes, and I would ask you to research those proposals that were brought from Cochran Engineering. It was not to be taken out of water and sewer fund.
Yeah, I don't think there was any, I think when Terry said that we were going to talk to them, because the equipment was already going to be here, and I don't think it ever went any further because of whatever.
Mm-hmm.
These are the kind of things that citizens get upset about, is because we come to the meetings, our rates are raised. We're expecting our infrastructure to take and be taken care of. Our streets are not being taken care of. We supposedly get $20,000 every month from transportation tax. We take and we have our water bills doubled. We have a tremendous amount of people that are on fixed incomes that literally cannot afford that are taking and opting out, whether they pay their water bill, they buy food, or they buy oxygen, or they buy medicine for their families, okay? There's a lot of them out there. And we were assured, this is what gets people upset, is because when you come to a meeting and one thing is decided, and then down the road, when it gets actually time to do something, something else transpires. And we've not seen anything that with the money that we have paid in for the past almost 2 years, okay, other than that water and sewer fund being used to furnish things that are in either administration or in another area of this that's been used to pay for other things, and that's not right. That's not right.
Okay.
Just one more question.
Okay.
I thought your roads, streets, come out of a total different fund, had nothing to do with water. So why is that?
That's correct. Now, on that additional work, the road work itself would come out of the transportation road tax. That's accurate. But I can tell you, we just met with Cochran last week, and when we looked at the estimates they gave us for this additional work, not all of that would have come out of the road tax. Some of it would have came out of other funds. But right now, it's up to this council if they even want to move forward with that project, and we need to
Well, see,
talk
that's
about
my
it.
question, okay, is we're taking stuff out of the water fund to pay for things that really should be. That raise, I was told that raise for water and sewer was supposed to go strictly for water and sewer, not to take care of asphalt or any other project.
And the
It's
asphalt,
not
would-
the
asphalt
would not be
would not be
covered.
paid with water and sewer. It'd be paid by the road tax. The asphalt would be covered under the road tax, not the asphalt. not
Why
the
don't we
water.
have no money then? Why ain't these projects, the towers and stuff fixed? Now, I can't drink it, I drink bottled water in my house, but I cannot stand Pevely water. Put some ideas, I cannot drink Pevely water. And thousands of people I know can't drink Pevely water, and my dog wouldn't even drink it. That's bad. My dog just go out and drink out of the store, and drink their water.
Okay,
I'm done thinking.
thank you. Go ahead, Don.
What other funds, you said other funds, what are you talking about? You said road funds and you said other funds, or did I misunderstand?
Well, ideally, it would come out of the water fund if it's gonna be a water line, because that's what it's earmarked for.
Oh, no, I understand that, but I thought when you were talking about surfacing, I thought you.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Surfacing of the road, I thought maybe you said, road tax and other funds. Were you talking about with other funds, without the new sewer and water lines going in, is that what you're talking about? Or other funds used to, with the road tax fund to be used?
I don't know all the taxes, all the funds that be available to me, or to this council, and that's something I'd work with Greg on. But obviously, the water line piece of that, there's a likelihood that would come out of the water fund, and then those other things appropriate to the funds that are earmarked for would be used. I can't tell you all those funds at this time. I know we get more funds, there's some additional funds, there's fuel tax funds and some other things, and Greg and I would have to look at those numbers, see what they're doing.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. Mr. Kendall's sewer bill. That's these 3 pages right here. It's in your packet.
And I'm taking the lead on that. He came in to talk to me, and I told him I'd represent him. He has a bill that's in the rear. He's not on city water, he's only on city sewer. He's also one of the residents that was part of the annexation movement some months back. He was initially told that he had been annexed and would get a different rate once he became annexed into the community. Annexation did not happen. He's been at the higher rate since the first of this year. And then he received a notice in the mail from the building department sometime recently. And he's asking for consideration on his bill, starting with March 1st, that he would be allowed the city rate. And apparently he was told that he had been annexed. So he's asking this council tomorrow to make a decision whether or not he'd be given some consideration on his sewer bill.
So how much is the sewer bill right now?
That's at right around 701, something right around that dollar amount. Now, he understood that early on in this process, there would be a period of time that a normal annexation process would have occurred. At that time, during those periods, he would have been on the normal non-resident or non-annexed rates. And it was agreed on that March 1st would be a good starting point for the change.
So how much is the difference between from March the 1st bill from his old bill?
I'll have to look at what the resident rates are for those who have been annexed and calculate that for you tomorrow.
Okay, because if we're only going back to March the 1st, I mean, we have dates all the way back to 2009 here.
Well, no, he's paid up. At the start of January 1, he was paid up. So the delinquent payments they started January 1 to forward to this date.
Okay, well, am I missing a page here? How many pages are there?
I got 4.
Okay, well, I have 3 pages.
If you look on the first page, look about halfway down, and date 12/2 of 2013, he made a full payment, and then the next billing cycle started.
We paid the 466.29.
Yeah.
So his bill went up from 3264 to 7174.
That's what it appears to show.
On January 20th, his bill, he was charged 3264, and on the 20th of February, it went to 7174. that's 13, you're right. Well, but it still remained the same, 71, 74 from there on out. So if we're going back to March of this year, so 39.10 extra a month is what they charged.
That's assuming that the 3264 is the residential rate for
That's not
within
the
city
residential
limits.
rate.
I'll have to,
That's
I don't
not
have
that
the rate
rate.
in front of me, so I don't know.
Okay?
It's 35.15 or something like that. I would like to pay his sewer bill at 120.13 after that increase, because he was only paying 32.64.
Well, 35 whatever is only $3 difference.
Yeah, times how many months, 20?
No,
No, I'm saying.
From
for me, for
March.
my bill. I'm not worried about my money, not his money right now. Same as.
okay.
I don't know.
Bring it tomorrow night then, our total, and we'll go from there. Is that all right with the board? Is that all right?
What's that?
He'll bring the total tomorrow night to the meeting.
That's fine. He's got a nice sewer rate for a long time. Mine went up to 35.15 or so. His was 32, it's not bad.
This is what?
His is $32.
I see 71, 74.
Look at 1 of 13. The bottom of the page.
Yeah,
What's that one?
32.64, but from then on, it's 71, 74.
Well, mine changed in that month to 35, is my point.
Okay,
I'm asking probably as good as yours.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Not to sound redundant here, okay, but this gentleman is a classic example of what I just said a few minutes ago about people who cannot afford their water and sewer bills. It's a classic example. This gentleman, his bill was doubled, he's a non-resident, okay? He was paying $32. When the rates were raised, his bill got doubled, he's up to 71 now. He's on a fixed income, he can't afford it. Now, you're looking for an adjustment to do it, and I'm all for helping people out. I really am all about that. But what I'm saying here is that you've got a gentleman now and I don't mean to be up in his business, but you got a gentleman that is in arrears by several $100s, and you have people that are out there now that are widows, single mothers, they can't even get an extension to have to pay their bills when they need to pay their bills. All right? Now they're talking about people that are residents. Now this person is a non-resident.
Well, he honestly thought he was a resident because the past board or this board sat and listened and had hearings and everything on bringing him into the city. But then when we sent the paperwork to Hillsborough, the paperwork wasn't filled out properly by the city, so the county threw it out. So now we're having to go all the way back, all through the whole process again with having a hearing on the annexations and voting still back in the city. It wasn't no part of this gentleman's, it was the city's fault.
Okay. But I hope that you hear that I'm saying two things.
I understand what you're saying.
The other thing is that I would be concerned, and you brought a whole other concern up to me, is that if I was expecting paperwork to prove that I had been annexed into a city, or to prove that my property line was expanded or whatever, all right? And you're telling me now that was how many months ago? We have no checks and balances that this paperwork has come in and we've taken it. There's already been too many incidents with these people out on Highway Z of not trusting this city. I don't know why any of them would even want to come into our city.
Why don't-
You know?
The sewers are no good.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well,
And-
yeah, I mean, you know, but all the headache
But
that
you know
they
something,
have,
Paul? Those
But-
people don't have a choice. Their property's gonna be condemned.
that's right.
There's
it
the only
is.
choice they have is
That's
come to the city.
And that's a whole nother issue there.
No, it's
Okay.
not. It's not.
Yeah,
It's
it
the same
is.
issue. It's the same
It is.
issue. Those people can complain all they want, but they only
Okay.
have one place to go.
Yeah,
Excuse me, Adams.
Back to the city though.
Well,
yeah. But I mean, I think you know, giving him consideration is not something that's out of the question. But I hope as you're giving him consideration that we just spoke about increasing the rates again. He's a classic example. And he's not even a citizen.
Okay. Okay. So tomorrow you will bring an adjustment to what it should be from March of this year through the present day.
Okay, yes.
Okay. You want to discuss Miss Edmonds' property? She's already left. Well, she's on the agenda for tomorrow night, so.
Can I say something again in regards to Ms. Edmonds' property?
Okay.
Because I was in on that. And I don't know what your plan is for that, but I spoke to Mr. Thomas several times in regards to Ms. Edmonds' property. Okay? There were a group of citizens that got together and cleaned up that property. All right? We got no help from the city. But I did speak with Mr. Thomas on several occasions, and it was promised to her by this city that she would receive extra dirt to put into her yard where it had I don't know what you call it, but the wave of water came through and washed her dirt out and everything, and knocked down her fence. And that they would replace that fence. That was a promise, and like I said, I personally talked to Mr. Thomas in that regard, at least on 3 different occasions. And when the citizens went down and cleaned, I made arrangements with Mr. Thomas, so when the citizens committee got together and cleaned up her property, that since that was part of the city's fault that came through there, that the city workers came through that following Monday, and they picked up all the extra debris that we had gathered up, all the trash, tree limbs, everything else, and they hauled it off. And that was one of the stipulations also.
Okay. Okay. Water line shut-off valve on 5th Street. It says Third Street, that's a misprint. It's
That was my mistake. I was corrected today by Keith. He told me it's 5th Street he's wanted on. And what this is, regardless of what, if we don't do anything on the additional work on Main Street, we'd like to go ahead and install an isolation valve. Can't tell you how big the area is, but you know the area is right out here, right outside City Hall here. It would allow us to at least split it in half. So if we have to shut the water off, there's less people impacted by a water shutdown. And that's what we're looking at doing. Install that valve to at least do some isolation in that zone right there. And if I understand correctly, I've not seen this process, and maybe some of you out there have, there's one particular company in town, they can come in, put this device in the pipe, we'll dig the hole, they put this device in the pipe, and they can install a valve without shutting the water off, and without a boil, or without disinfecting. So that's a pretty significant process, and that's what the water department and myself are requesting. And that's about, worst case scenario, it'd be about $3,400.
What's the 6250 for?
Well, there's 2 costs. It's $3,200 if the valve they have fit right onto the material, the pipe we have in the ground. If they have to use an adapter of some sort, it's going to be $250 extra. And that's the difference in prices right there.
Okay. So are we wanting 2 different valves, 2 different locations?
No, you'll see that the bottom one is the price if we have to install an adapter of some sort. And this estimate that the council persons have is was from June of 2013. I called the sales rep today. I talked to him over the phone and got current prices of $32 and $34.50 respectively.
Okay. Street department tractor repair.
Excuse me,
As
Okay, wait just a minute. Oops, go ahead.
maybe I just missed it all, I don't know. $32.50, right?
3,200.
3,200.
Okay.
It's written up there.
Yeah, I can see that, and it's got a Mountain Dew at the bottom, it's $62.50. Where am I missing $3 grand? I mean,
Why is it 6250?
That would be a total, that's a total between the two, that's not an accurate number. I suspect their software generated that automatically.
okay, well, I automatically have to decide that what I'm gonna do with them. Sorry for the inconvenience.
That's okay, I didn't pay attention to that.
I got a big enough mouth, that's what they say on 2020.
Yeah, tractor repair.
As most of you probably know, the street department's tractor has got a transfer case problem. Four-wheel drive doesn't work. Darren was only able to get 2 companies to respond. One was Herb Equipment. Their price was $9,099.60. And WM Noble of Farmington, their price is $3,539.85. Now, the unknown is, on both these estimates, they won't know if there's any additional damage to the internal parts until they get this thing disassembled. That's the unknown. And needs to be fixed regardless. But those are 2 quotes I have. The one from Farmington, they seem to be comfortable enough that they can do the work. They're quite a bit cheaper than Herb.
Quite a bit?
Quite a bit. So even if there's some internal parts damage, you know, with the lower price, we still have some wiggle room as compared to use Herb. Again, it's up to the council what they want to go with, but it needs to be fixed. And my proposal is going to be that we go with the lowest bid, and hopefully everything inside the cases. There may be some things, but the expense doesn't run wild.
Okay, we'll bring this back up tomorrow evening for a vote.
Are we all right with just 2 bids like that? Are we all right just bidding out and getting 2 bids, or do we need?
He couldn't get in. He called several places, and first of all, it's a fairly large machine, and some folks just said, I don't want to deal with that machine. The weight of it, the size of it. So I know he called at least one more spot, and maybe another 2 additional places that just wasn't interested in working on it.
Okay, sunshine request, the deposit requirements. We had this meeting with Mr. Tom Durkin from the Attorney General's office. He suggested that we have a deposit when someone wants to get lots of documents and that, a deposit up front. He says there's a way that citizens could take advantage of the city on if we don't put a deposit up front. And this goes back to something like Mr. Marcus has requested all the city, the mayor's emails. So it's taken myself a lot of time to go back and look on Mr. Knobloch's past emails since, I think it was April the 1st through July the 7th when he resigned. So we got all the information. It took a lot of time to do so with myself and the city attorney. So this would help defray a little bit of the cost of it, but it also would help us that should he decide he didn't want the information at a later date, then we would have a deposit. But since then, Tom, our city attorney, did say that we already have an ordinance into effect that we could get. We could request the deposit right now as it stands. So at the time when I asked for this to put on, I wasn't aware of that. So it's sort of hindsight. Okay, Greg? Go for a budget review.
I made a copy of the City of Farmington's fiscal policies. Everybody should have a copy of that. Oh,
You want to?
oh, sorry, did I read this first?
You want to stand here and use this mic? So
So we're gonna go with, we want to talk about, is this on the agenda?
We're going to discuss that at probably next council meeting.
Okay.
It'll be easier for him to sit here.
That's fine. Sure. He can come up here and sit. It's fine. Face the.
Everybody hear me? Okay. I handed out a copy of the fiscal policies and procedures manual for the city of Farmington. And so, you have the financials. Are you going over those financial statements tomorrow night? Dickie, I noticed there's a copy of them right here. Are you going over those tomorrow night, or are we doing those now?
I can go over it. I can go back over it tomorrow if you want.
Okay, because I was thinking that's what we were doing. I was going to talk about the policies and what we're putting in
The
place.
budget I'll go over tomorrow.
Okay.
I can do that tomorrow.
Okay, well, you have a copy of these financial policies and procedures manual. We're implementing the new software. We had a training on the cash receipts management program. They're going up Wednesday to work on accounts payable. We set all the vendor list up. I set their chart of accounts up today. You'll have an ordinance that you're not tomorrow night, the next council meeting, on combining creating some funds, doing it a little bit differently, but I talked to you guys about it. When I go over the financial statements, we're going to be splitting out water and sewer. We're going to be making a city transportation fund, a county transportation fund, doing some things like that. Part of doing this whole process also is going to be looking at segregation of duties, trying to set up policies and procedures to make sure that we don't have one person processing a whole transaction, that we have checks and balances in place. Right now we have checks and balances in some place, but due to lack of a city administrator for a while and things of that nature, things just had to happen just to get stuff done, for the city. But this is a pretty extensive procedures manual. It has financial management goals. It has financial management policies. It talks about budgeting, cash receipts, accounts receivable, accounts payable, payroll, cash and debt management, purchasing and procurement. A lot of these, like the procurement policy, will look at your current procurement policy and look to look to see if there's any changes. Mr. Bewig was just asking about, do you need more on the bid piece of it? I was just looking at that. If it's between 7,500 and 3,500, you're supposed to try to solicit 3 bids. But if you don't get 3 bids, you have to document that you attempted and you couldn't get them. So as long as we have documentation. But we need to have that purchasing policy in, that will be part of our policies and procedures manual, that every department head and fiscal people and the council will get a copy, and it's also be available to the public also. But it basically lays out all the fiscal responsibility across across a caveat of all city business. It deals with a lot of different things. It also has in the policies and procedures manual, it has a policy for They have policies in here for internal audit, credit card policy, fuel card, cellular phone use, personal vehicle use, your conflict of interest. Again, we might have individual policies that get approved, and I haven't looked to see which of these things the city already has to look and see if we need to modify those or whatever. But if we don't have those, we'll be developing those policies. They'll get approved by ordinance, and then that policy will become part of the fiscal policies of the city of Pevely. But anyway, I think this is a really good document, and this is one of the cities that we perform the audit for. Instead of acting as fiscal director, we actually audit the city, and part of these I developed back 1994 when I was their fiscal director. But I think it's pretty all-encompassing, but I don't think it goes into a ton of detail. You don't have too much detail because on some of your procedures, you don't want to tie them to individual people's names. You want to tie them to positions, or you want to say a third party. When you're looking at segregation of duties, you don't want the same person entering the invoice, approving the invoice, then entering the invoice in, and then writing the check, doing a whole ball of wax. You want to have controls in place. Same way with the deposit side, with the receipt side. One thing I don't think this does a real good job with is it doesn't go real into detail on the utility billing side as far as the adjustment approvals and things of that nature. So I'd probably do a little bit more, be more in depth on that side, because that is an area when you're looking at fraud. If fraud could occur, it's the adjustments that can be made in the utility billing system, where you're just taking cash in, but you write off somebody's account. Again, I haven't seen that. I haven't looked into that kind of detail. And your auditors in the past, I can't tell from looking at the audit reports, I don't think they've seen that either. But you still need to put controls in place to keep things from, keep potential fraud from happening. So anyway, so this is something we're going to be looking to adopt. A policy, a manual like this for the city of Pevely. It even talks in here, I believe it talks about capital in the budgeting process. It talks about some about capital too, I believe, but it talks about the budget timeline, budget review process, your taxing authority. So again, I think this is a pretty good all-encompassing tool. So we're going to try to develop something like this for the city of Pevely.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Greg? Any questions? Okay. Okay. Paul?
I have a question for you, Mr. Shen. You said that was from the city of Farmington, and you
Yes.
helped to develop that?
Yeah, years
So
ago.
you're quite familiar with that, those policies and procedures. I know that it is up to the board to do that, but what is a time frame that you think that can be developed and that it can be presented to the board that it was to be voted on?
Well, I would say by the end of November. Like I said, I just need to review what policies we have in place. The good thing is October 1, we'll be running live on our new software on the general ledger side of it, and not the utility side. Payroll comes online January 1, and we're going to run our test payroll in December on the new system, and then come online January 1 with it. We're going to run utility billing, simultaneous utility billing in the month of December. I talked to Sue today about possibly doing 2. You guys only have 1 billing cycle. and looking to see if we could, work with that. But I don't think it's going to be. The city is a super complicated city, so I think we just need to use some common sense, things that to have in place. But I would believe the end of November would be a doable time frame. I just sent all the audit confirmations down to the auditors. I'm going to send them a trial balance. Hopefully by the end of this week, they'll be coming up, I'm hoping next week or the following week, to do 2013's audit. And then we'll go, so there'll be time there. But I don't think there'll be any problem with having something done by the end of November.
Just one other question. Is there a possibility, the policy book that you have there, is that available to citizens?
Oh, yeah, it's public knowledge in the city of Farmington. I have extra copy if you want it, ma'am.
I would like it very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your hard work in it, too.
Thank you.
Any other questions? That's it.
Thank you.
Have any comments, Mr. Bewey?
No.
Okay, I have one question. I'd like to see us look into. The other day, we don't own our furniture in City Hall. What do we pay a quarterly amount, something, I don't know, but it's over $1,000. Is that a month, quarter?
That was semi-annual interest. You actually pay a principal. You pay every 6 months. You either pay principal and interest or just interest only.
Okay. And how long does that go for?
I just copied that amortization schedule yesterday. I want to say there's another 4 years on that.
So are we stuck in a contract or what?
It's a lease. I don't know if there's. I haven't seen the document. I haven't looked at the document to see if you have if you can pay it off early.
Okay. Can you check into that,
I
Greg?
sure can.
Okay. All done?
Can you give me a copy of that?
Or what?
Whatever you're getting at. Our lease, our agreement, our rented furniture, rent center.
I don't have a copy of it yet, so when Greg gives me one, I will pass it on to all the board members, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Birds flying.
One thing we'll have to look at in the future is as we upgrade our software and our other systems, we'll also have to upgrade our internet service provider to the building. Right now, we're running a system that we're fortunate it runs at all with the load that's on it, and that's what we're looking at. We're looking at staying, we looked at Charter, and we're looking at Windstream, which is our current provider, and we're looking at those options. But that's going to be a discussion point for the board at some point in time. It's not really a matter of if we want to do it, it is something we're going to need to do. It's just finding the best fit for us, is what it is.
Okay.
Thanks.
That it? Thanks a lot for coming out tonight. We'll see you back tomorrow evening.
And I'd like to thank you, Mr. Walker, for having us tonight. And,